Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be the first video of a 3 video piece, I guess you want to call it, or installment or whatever. I don't know what you want to say, but I decided that I was going to show my skull collection, my crystal skull collection, and I'm going to divide it into 3 videos. So one is 3.5 inch size and down. The second video will be my 3.5 inch, 4 inch and up. And then the last one will be all of my different carvings of like animals, um, different carvings, right? So I figured I'd put that all into one piece. There is obviously a few skulls that will not be partaking in this because they're just way too large and too heavy for me to move. So unfortunately, they won't be able to join us. I screwed around with my coloring a little bit here and I've really tried to get some good coloring going. I've tried to get good lights so that we can actually see these crystals a little bit more in detail. But like I've said in the past, crystals like natural light, they really dislike like incandescent or LED. They don't, the depth isn't there in them sometimes. So hopefully this works. It is picking up a little bit in my lab slab here, which is absolutely full of color, but you know how labradite is. It likes to come out and play when it feels like it. So we're going to start, and I'm going to start with all of my, so we're going to work from the smallest to the largest, and the largest in this video being 3.5. All right, so my first one is, and the funny thing is she was my very first skull that I ever got. So this is, I'm going to say it's a chevron amethyst, but it was sold to me just as amethyst. And this little one here is called Ame. So when I purchased her, I had a really strange experience with her. And that night, I kept getting visions of high peaks with snow and a whole bunch of storms happening, and it was freezing cold. So it's apparently where her stone was harvested from. And the weird part was that she wasn't even with me yet. She still had to be shipped to me. And I had all of these visions. She never gave me the name of it or details or anything like that, but I knew her name was Ame before she even got here. And when you see the jaws carved out like this, that is great detail. That is a master carver. That is someone who's been doing it a long time. And this is your more advanced, usually more expensive skulls because of that. So this is Ame, and she was my first one, and she's about 1.5 inches. And once again, the camera is not doing it justice. She is a beautiful, beautiful, deep, gorgeous purple. And it's, you know, it's amethyst, right? So it's a beautiful, she's beautiful. And it's even like a little bit of like a bluey tone down here, which is really, really interesting. But yeah, so this is my first one, and that's Ame. Now, my next one, which I believe is my most recent one, is this one here. It is from Kyocera stone. It is about 1.5 as well too. Obviously not as advanced crafter or carver. The jaw is not hollowed out and the eyes are a little crooked. Her whole face is a little crooked. This one has not given me a name yet. I love the healing properties of Kyocera, or it can also be called Landlight or Rhyolite. And yeah, so I think this is my most recent one. And I saw her somewhere, and I wasn't going to purchase any more skulls. I do not need any more skulls. They have the vibration in here is already so freaking high from the skulls that I have, and being that I live in a 120-year-old decommissioned church, the vibrations in here are so insane that I really honestly do not need any more crystals or crystal skulls. So I was not going to purchase this, but she was on sale. She was discounted down, and I'm a sucker, like I said, for Coursera. So I was like, I have to get her. So I did. And I'm saying her, but it could be a male energy. This one and me, this one's not activated. And I haven't really gotten much information off of it other than it just likes being here. So that's this one here. Okay, and my next one is, so this came from the same place that the last little skull that we saw. This is crone. Opalization on it, if you can see it. Beautiful, fiery opalization. This is, oh, look at this side. Look at that. Beautiful. It's not showing the greatest flash, but it's full and it's absolutely beautiful. And then here's her face. And the reason why I ended up purchasing this one was, once again, it was a show. That's where that little one came from. Wasn't planning on purchasing anything, was just watching because I was bored. And then they showed this little one, and the name Crone immediately popped into my head, and I was just like, yeah, I got to get this one. So this is carved from ammonite. So this is an ammonite shell carving. And when she showed up, the fact that her teeth are really wonky, it's hard to see the details of her face. There's her eye. So it's a very crone looking face. Her teeth are kind of all messed up. So she's got very much crone energy. And yeah, so her name is Crone, but she's amazing. Really like working with ammonite. Ammonite is a wonderful crystal to work with. Not only does it ground you really, really deep, but because it has that opalization on it, it really activates your third eye and stimulates it. So they're absolutely wonderful to meditate with. So after I bought Crone, I ended up getting this one here. The same show once again snagged me, and I was like, these were all on clearance. They were all on sale. Nobody wanted them. Not really sure why. Maybe people don't like ammonite. I'm not sure, but I absolutely love ammonite. And this one was in a little bit of a better shape as far as this one. This one tends to be like really, this one's probably much older than this one and just wasn't in like the best fossilization situation. And that's why it's a little bit more pitted, a little bit more rougher looking, right? Where this one was in a better area and fossilized better. Now I could probably dig down and I could probably keep clearing lower and lower and lower into this and maybe get that spiral growing. But I don't really want to play with my luck, so I've just left it. So this one here has a wonderful carved face. And this one's Omega. And the reason why I purchased him was because he literally said to me in the show, I go with Crone. And I was like, all right, you're going with Crone, and I'm buying you too. So these both got bought, and they both showed up one after another. He actually showed up first, even though I purchased him before or after this one. This one got lost in the mail for a little bit, and then she ended up showing up. So, yeah, so that's my two right there. Now, I wanted to take some time now to explain when I say that they speak or they communicate, it's very much a voice that speaks inside you that isn't yours. And what I mean by that is it's a form of divination. It's the same way you look at your tarot cards or your oracles and you just know what they're saying to you. It's the same way that, you look into a crystal ball and you can see what's going on in there and you just know. It's all based off of, it's all intuition. It's all divination purposes, all divination, I shouldn't say purposes, divination system. They're all a little bit different. And if you're capable and able to communicate with skulls, you know what I mean when I say that. If you don't, you'll never understand it. They have the ability to speak very clearly to you. If that's, if you want to say it's guides, angels, whatever you want to say is coming through, that's up to you. Um, there's thoughts and theories on all of this. My mom thought I was crazy when I told her that like I communicate with them, and my mom was just like, okay, there's a problem going on here. And I was like, actually no, there's not. And I gave her one of my skulls, and she was like, I saw her face completely change, and she gave it back to me, and she's like, it said something to me. And I was like, yep, it did, because my gifts and abilities come from you, and if I have them, more than most likely you have them. So the funny thing is it made my mom a, a believer in all of that. So it was really quite interesting. Now, my niece, my eldest niece, she has the ability to do it as well too. And she has quite a few skulls in her collection as well. So you have grandmother, daughter, and granddaughter that we all have the ability to communicate with them. So like I said, if you are capable of doing it, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you're going to think people that talk to skulls are crazy. And I can't help you with that. So it is what it is. But so these two, like I said, were kind of purchased close at the same time from the same place. Both came wonderful, wonderful. I love them. They're so primitive. They're amazing. And their energy's old, right? They exist from waterways in a time when there was no pollution, there was no chemicals. Earth's energy was very young. Um, they're beautiful. If you ever have the opportunity to grab yourself an ammonite with opalization on it, meditate with it. It's phenomenal. Even if you can't get an ammonite that has opalization on it, still get yourself an ammonite and meditate with it. It's fabulous. It's wonderful energy. Orthocerises are really cool to meditate with as well too. If you don't know what an orthoceras is, maybe I'll show it on my third my third video of this where I talk about like my more of my different carvings, and maybe I'll bring an orthoceras into that one. All right, so my next one is I'm going to show, we're going to get into some star beings here. So this is Queenie. Queenie is very special to me. Once again, was in a shop, was doing other things, wasn't looking for a star being, and she caught my eye. She was on a sale table, and I was like, yeah, I can't leave without her. And that was it. She's got beautiful, flashy labradorite eyes. And if you see, her whole top of her head is full of a million trillion rainbows. She is so rainbowy, and they're kind of picking up a little bit, but it's amazing. She's so full of rainbows and tons of inclusions as well too. So she's got like these little cubes. There's one behind this eye that you can't really see. You can kind of see it right there. There's one here, and there's one right by this eye as well too. They're almost like, to me, they look like, I want to say they're like calcite because they have like a waxy texture look to them. So I don't know if they're cubes of calcite. They're very light and pearly in color. So really quite interesting. Whatever that material is, this is the back of it here. So it's been carved out. And if you feel, it's a very soft, waxy texture. And that's why I'm going to say I'm pretty sure it's calcite cubes. But this is Queenie. And she's a blast. I love it. I can get lost in her. There's so much different like inclusions and different things going on inside of here. It's like, it's insane in there. It's a very interesting world inside of her head. But yeah, so that's Queenie. My next one here is my first star being, and this is Quib. He is moss agate, high quality, triple grade A moss agate. He has a little bit of like some druzy going on the side of him here. There's a little druzy pocket right there too. There's another one right here. They all have a little bit of sparkle in them. They're not necessarily picking up though. He's got one right here that's sparkly. But yeah, so this is Quib, and I was never drawn to star beings ever. And I ended up going into this shop once again to get something else. And this one really spoke to me. And when I picked him up, it felt like I had a jetpack on, and it was like, and I felt like I was being like rocketed up into the sky. And it surprised me so much that I almost dropped him. And I had never experienced an energy like that. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I need to relook at this like star being thing. So I put him down and I left. And I ended up purchasing what I originally went there to get, and I left. Now, this one right here, I thought about him and thought about him and thought about him and thought about him. And I couldn't stop thinking about him. And I ended up going on to the online site of the store that I had seen him at. And when I typed in star being, he was the very first one that popped up. Even though he's moss agate and M is towards the end of the alphabet, not at the beginning. So it was a very strange occurrence. So I meditated a little bit on the picture and asked if it was the one that I had felt, because there was another one that was very similar to him. And I was like, okay, which one was it that gave me that feeling? And this one came through very clearly, and it was like me. And I was like, all right. So I ended up purchasing this one. Now, I had purchased from that store in the past, and it usually takes a good 2 weeks almost for things to get here. This star being showed up at my front door, and I am not kidding you, in 2 days. I swear to God, this thing morphed here. And it was the craziest situation I've ever experienced in my life. And still to this day, I have no explanation as to why this got here as fast as it did. It was insane how fast it showed up. And like I said, I have bought things from this store before. It has never, ever taken 2 days. It has taken almost 2 weeks most of the time. So how this ended up with me so fast is beyond me. But this is Quib. I knew the name before it even got here. It came to me the night that I purchased it. And that's usually how it works for me, is once I purchase them and once that debit transaction goes through, I'm then their keeper, and then I get a name. So that's how this one came. And he's a wonderful energy. He's great to hold to meditate with that the elongated skull, which is kind of more considered in the Egyptian realm of things, but he's great to hold and to meditate with. I really enjoy it. I'm a sucker for moss agate. I love moss agate. I love all agates, to tell you the truth. Agates and me are like, I love them. All right. My next one is a star being as well, but it's a little bit more of a realistic looking star being. And this here is Juju. Now, Juju, when I purchased her, it's been told to me that this was Mongolian quartz. However, I'm not sure entirely of the stone. When I look up Mongolian quartz, it doesn't really look like this. And see that flash? That's why I kind of think that this is Amazonite. I might be wrong. It might be like Amazonite with some like Mongolian quartz into it. I don't really know what the combination is. But this darker color, I can say is definitely a Mongolian quartz color. But this blue is not a typical Mongolian quartz color. And I don't think the like Ilspar shimmer, like that flash, I don't think that's a Mongolian quartz thing at all. I actually think this is an Amazonite. Maybe it's like veined with Mongolian quartz. I don't know. It's a really interesting stone. She's got black obsidian eyes. And quite a remarkable piece of stone if you can't see it for anything else but that. Like, gorgeous. She's heavy. She sits good. Tiny tippy, but not too bad. An amazing energy to meditate with. Once again, very cosmic, galactic energy that comes through with it. And yeah, I was never drawn to like this type of carving before. I do really like this style, and I'm okay with this style. I prefer this style the most, Queenie style the most. But I couldn't resist this one. I don't know what it was about it. And I ended up purchasing her, and she came, and she's just beautiful. I enjoy it. Look at her little ears. She's very cute. Very heavy. Like when she showed up, she felt in the box like she was like rolling around like a little bowling ball. And it was funny because my niece actually purchased a skull alongside with me, and we went together on the shipping. And because she was rolling around in the box, she actually damaged my niece's skull because she was just, like I said, rolling around in there, and she ended up smashing my niece's skull and chipping it. All right, and then you guys just saw this one in my previous video, but I'm going to show her because she's in this family of the 3.5 inch and smaller. This is my pyrite skull, Trinity. She is hand carved, gorgeous piece of pyrite, very sparkly, has a beautiful iron ring, which is like almost like a crown. It's a little off to the side. So I always tell her she has a lean in her crown. But this one is, like I've said in my previous video, she does all my readings with me, all my tarot card readings. She sits very close to my table when I do these videos and my readings and the different things that I do on YouTube. I'm a firm believer in having pyrite around you, as well as a few other crystals that are very important to have around you as you're reading and channeling. So she is one of them. She comes along with all of the stuff. She is very, very heavy, very solid. And like I said in my previous video, the pyrite skulls are usually small because they do weigh so much that it is way too expensive to ship them. So you'll tend to find them a lot smaller. You'll tend to find them like Ame's size, right? You'll tend to find them this size, which is about 1.5 inches. Sometimes you can find a 2 inch one if you're lucky. This is the biggest pyrite skull I've come across at this point in my life, and that's why I purchased her, as well as the fact that it was an amazing deal. And in the previous video, I said she was hand carved from Peru. It's either Peru or Mexico, and I cannot remember which one it is, but she definitely came from somewhere. She is not carved out, but you wouldn't with pyrite. Pyrite is just, because it's so full of iron, you wouldn't, I mean, you wouldn't even bother. So this, she's a heavy lady, and she's beautiful. So that's Trinity. And my last but not least for this video is this beautiful hand carved, very unique orange calcite skull, and his name is Ringo. You can see all the beautiful layers in him. This is an exquisite piece of orange calcite. Sorry, I was going to say mango calcite because he does. He looks like a mango, but orange calcite. He has a very interesting face. Very, I don't know. I was very drawn to the way he was carved. I thought it was so unique and different. Jaw, once again, not carved out. And even though, it was very much back in the day, you wanted skulls that had hollowed out jaws, right? But I honestly felt like, not very experienced carvers wouldn't carve out jaws, but it also came down to nowadays shipping. It's a lot safer to ship this than it is to ship this, right? This can crack and break off so easy because it's thinned out, right? It's hollowed out. So this is more than most likely to obtain damage as opposed to this. So I really honestly think that nowadays it comes down to just making it safe for shipping. I'm going to say that this is quite an advanced carver that did this one. It's very proportionate, it's right, it's perfect. Everything's done correctly. Um, but yet it's different enough and unique enough that you can tell that it was definitely hand carved. So this line right here, his face, like his jaw is very straight. This line is that ring that you see going through. So it kind of can throw you off a little bit as opposed to like how balanced this carving is, but he's very balanced. And if I this is where his line is, right? So you can see it. So he's got a very even mouth. It just doesn't appear that way because of this banding. But I don't know, really brightens up space, really brightens up the energy. I really enjoy this skull because days that I'm down in the dumps or during the winter when I just feel like I need a little bit of some brightness or some sunshine, just something like that, this guy right here is where I go because I swear to God, it feels like you're holding a handful of sunshine. And he's just such a unique carving. So yeah, that is my skull collection. And I'll kind of bring them all out here and we'll put them in a circle on this mat. And, it's very much a thing. I absolutely love my skulls. I don't talk about them a whole heck of a lot because, people get a little weird about things and that's okay. I'm not the type of person to really honestly care what others think and what they accept and don't accept. So this is kind of where, I'm at. So this is, like I said, my 3.5 inch and lower, smaller skulls. And you can just feel the energy coming off of this circle. It's amazing. All right, so if you enjoyed yourself, like, subscribe, share, all that wonderful stuff. My next video, I'm going to do my 4-inch skulls and larger. And that one, I've got some very high-end, very beautiful skulls. So stay tuned for that one. And yeah, well, hopefully you guys enjoyed yourselves. Hopefully this taught you a little bit of something or maybe helped you understand the world of crystal skulls a little bit better. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks. Bye.